See if you've got the timing. Okay, we're back. We're on, so we're okay.
Hi.
Yes.
So this is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio and TV and podcast #1 Internet Singles Talk Network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Barry and Christine. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. We're back.
We're back.
Another week.
I decided to be a little fancier today.
It's
I
very
pulled
fancy.
out my pearls. Yes.
Yes.
He's somebody who needs to clutch their pearls during our talk today. I have them ready. Don't you love that scene? I have to clutch my pearls. I'm so upset. So today we're talking about, is it better to stay in a bad relationship than have no relationship? Now I'm going to say out loud, I think it's best to be in a good relationship, but that's not the topic today.
Agreed.
We talk lots about how to be in a good relationship, but I think it's a very serious conversation because boy, it brought home a lot during COVID about what it was like to kind of be stuck at home if you were single and now you didn't even have your friends and the activities you were doing, you could get super lonely. So It's tempting to stay in something that's really bad.
Well, see, I look through the other lens, because
you always are good at that.
Because the thing is, during COVID, being in a relationship that sucked, wouldn't it be better to kick them out and have your own space back again? There's certain that's part of the feeling. So personally, for me, I would say, I feel shift the other way, where it's like I'd rather be alone and have my own space and be comfortable than be suffering with somebody else.
Yes.
So we'll definitely cover both sides of that. But that's the thing is that this is a choice point, and I mean, definitely talk about relationships with this with his kids involved. That could be a whole other conversation about, do you stay because of the kids and put up with bad relationships? What do you do with that? So this could be an important conversation for certain people listening to this today.
I'm hoping people will really listen to all the layers, because the other part I want to bring up, there's Miss Gigi.
There she is.
I have to be on video today. I have to do my walk on. She thinks she's a model. I have to walk by.
Every week, yes.
It's hysterical. And she comes from the whole other room. She wasn't even in this room at this moment. She's just like, there's Barry's voice. I have to cruise by Barry's voice. I'm sure it's you. Because I'm on other video things and she doesn't always show up. I thought, she likes Barry's voice.
I must have a gift.
I think it's it. So the other part I was thinking is, let's look at all the reasons we would use the word bad. Because there's bad because you're growing, you're personally growing, the other person's growing, you could grow together. You and I know people, and I've coached people that have come out the other side better together when they thought it was really bad.
Yeah.
So certainly the thing off the top of the bat that you would say too is, if it's abusive, if it's mentally, emotionally, physically abusive, no, don't stay no matter what. You
Absolutely.
have to leave.
And the other part of that also is that we have this tendency oftentimes, and maybe not during the pandemic, but certainly other parts of life, where we can look at, the grass always green on the other side sort of thing, where our relationship is bad because it could be so much better than that. And as you said, when you do the work, oftentimes the relationship gets a lot better than you thought it was, and you end up becoming a lot better than you started. So let's talk about why a relationship would be bad in your view, and is it really bad or not? Is it just a perspective?
And the other thing that's happened a lot lately is my clients and friends that are in relationships, and they see other people's relationships, and they're saying, I'm really glad I have mine. I wouldn't want theirs.
Indeed, yes, there is that as well.
So it's helpful that, if they're having their little, I wish it was different, but then they go, well, the comparison, I think I have it pretty good because I don't want all of that. Exactly. So I love that when you say, so comparison's not bad, because you were saying about the comparison about, gosh, the grass is greener, which is important to consider, but is it really? So many of my friends that are in relationships, especially really long time ones, are like, I am so glad I'm not dating right now, because it has, it's being a relationship has challenges, being single and dating has challenges. So before you jump, this is too bad, I have to leave, we're going to give you some ways to evaluate it and really just determine, is there hope? How much of it's you? If you leave, you're going to take you with you, and you might end up in the same relationship or worse if that's who you are taking with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, just to reframe the other way, so instead of saying the grass is always green on the other side, is how do you make it greener on your side?
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop
Are
that
we
seed
supposed to
in
do
there.
the Disney point though? Because you're not supposed to point with at Disney.
Oh,
You're only allowed to point
I'll
with
do it
2
this
fingers.
way or something. Yeah, I know.
Or like at the airport. What? Yes. Yes.
Right.
So that's the thing I always wanted to start with is if there's something that's really feeling wrong in your relationship, let's look at what part you're playing, what part you could do differently, what baggage you brought, what baggage maybe you haven't dealt with, what baggage they're touching on. Because I am so clear, because it certainly happened enough for me, and I watch it for my clients, that magically we call the person in to go, oh, yeah, let's get really comfortable. And then your thing is going to come up your abandonment issues, your bitchiness, your they're too needy, or I thought I wanted all this closeness, but I don't, or wow, they're not close enough. That you're like, oh, it's my stuff that's coming up that I have a chance to heal with this other person. And they're going to bring their stuff too that's going to pop up. Yeah, John Gray talks about that there's these phases that as soon as you get super comfortable, that's when it's going to go, hello, there's this old thing that's a chance for you to heal now. And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
it's a relationship. No, it's your thing.
Especially when the honeymoon is over. That's the things in the euphoria of that place initially in the relationship. Everything's perfect, nothing can go wrong, and that those foibles to go, oh, that's fine, I can deal with that.
Uh-huh.
But after the honeymoon ends, that love, that euphoria, and that sort of love blindness, so to speak, that's when the real stuff shows up. And you start looking and going, that thing I liked before doesn't feel so good anymore. And so this whole thing comes around for people to start looking at with real eyes, as in like realizing what's going on. That's one of my friend's quotes.
That idea that say that again.
Oh, when you say you realize, essentially where you're looking with real eyes, like you're seeing clearly. And that's the thing is people do that in relationship is that oftentimes after the initial period of time, which could be a few weeks, a few months, maybe in a few years, where everything's perfect and light, it's easy and graceful and everything, and then the heaviness shows up. Which is the thing is, did it show up or was it always there and you ignored it? So first of all, so just be aware of what you've been putting up with or allowing because you've been ignoring it, and now you are not ignoring it, and now it's suddenly in your face. The question is that going to scare you away, or are you willing to actually face it? Because a lot of times, as you said earlier about this relationship, people going through the same thing again and repeating themselves, is that the opportunity with this relationship is the gift of being able to end a cycle, a pattern of where you've been in past relationships. You don't do it again. And this relationship might be the biggest gift you have available to you because they're bringing to your attention that which you haven't resolved yet. And by the way, that's a massive lesson in all relationships you can do if you want to.
Yeah, I guarantee it's going to come up if you stick around long enough. Whatever your things are, your thing is from the past that you knew about or was a surprise, it's going to come up. The more comfortable you get, the more guaranteed I am that it's going to come up. And I've quoted this book before, and I think it was maybe in the 70s or the 80s about I'm okay, you're okay, and then I'm okay and you're screwed up, and oh my gosh, it might be me too. It was something like that. And I loved it because it was like, yeah, that is so what keeps happening to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people who repeatedly end up with the same challenge. Oh, I keep having these people that don't want to make a commitment. Oh, I keep having these people that get so angry at me or start treating me discourteously or get clingy. Well, they're all different people, but you're calling them in because maybe this is something for you to heal.
Absolutely. I've said it many times about my own journey. I went through three relationships in a row. Totally different women, look differently, act differently, all different. Yet the same result happened. And it took me to a third time to go, oh, hang on a second, it's not them, it's me.
It's really easy to go, oh, it's them.
Well, that's the thing. Most people, unfortunately, have this tendency to not be willing to look in the mirror. I mean, we talk about that a lot in my work about mirror work, in the sense that you're looking in the mirror and see yourself truly, accurately. And especially when the same thing happens again and again with different people, the common denominator is the one in the mirror, not the one out there. So it's important to be aware that you have the opportunity, because it's in your own consciousness, your own presence, your own environment, to do something about it, rather than keep repeating the same thing again and again. And the thing is that it's not good news for most people, because they'd rather disown it and blame somebody else to do the work. And that's the reality. I mean, people we work with, and certainly people I don't work with, I definitely have got to warn them ahead of time that we're going to talk about your own stuff, and you might be wanting to run away or blame somebody else, but we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to do the work.
And isn't it super fun when they finally, because I've had it twice this week now, they've gone, wow, I never looked at it like that. I never looked at this old message that I've now been bringing with me to every single relationship. And of course, the most recent one, I mean, it was really true. Her father had died when she was 6.
Yeah.
So she had abandonment issues. Of course she did.
Surprise.
But every man doesn't want to spend a lot of time with her pretty soon, and gets busy with his own thing, which is not a bad thing for the right kind of woman. Certainly bad for somebody who feels abandoned really easy.
Well,
so
yes,
if she has done her work, which now she's starting with because we talked about it, and she'll be able to pick a guy that isn't smothering, because that's what she thought she wanted, but she didn't want that either. But she didn't want these guys that, wanted to spend 12 hours a day, every day, doing other things, and not with, 7 days a week, and not with her.
Right.
Because she really needs a reasonable amount. It's just she didn't pick guys who thought that wasn't a reasonable amount. They thought she was too needy, which she really was. But it's an interesting journey. And this is so what you specialize in with women.
I was going to say, it's like,
I'm channeling Barry. But I've been working with her for a while when this finally came up, because we've done these other, but see, this is what you do when, as we talk about this, you get through the layers.
Yes.
And I brought it up before, and she and I'm like, okay. So we do other things, and it's helped. But then I'd bring it up again, and she'd go, whoop, and I'd bring it up again. And so finally, 2 days ago, she was like, oh. So I just knew, eventually.
Your persistence pays.
I'm patient, and I don't want people to collapse.
Right.
Which is the other thing people think. But if I face it, if I face the relationship's bad, if I face that I need to work on me, does that mean everything's screwed up? Does that mean I'm getting the rug pulled out from underneath me? Yeah, sometimes it does. I mean, you probably felt that a little when you got to that third relationship and went, oh, holy crap. And so far, generally, people don't die from it. They come out so glorious on the other side, right? I mean, look at what you got to learn when you finally went, oh, duh.
This is the work I do because of that. So I'm grateful for that last relationship on so many levels. But a couple of things I want to add to what you said. One of the things about this repeating behavior with different people is that we don't go looking for that. This thing that I love this. I love the way, the magical way that the universe works, so to speak, because your client had taken in the belief without realizing at a young age about her father's disappearance, meaning men did not stick around. That's what she was basically going through. And she would go up and she, if you go on the dating apps or you go through a matchmaker, they don't say on their resume, "will abandon you." No. I'm going to say that clearly, because people say, how does it happen? It's like, it's not something you can control. It's almost like icebergs in a sense. Like, we're above the ocean, we know what we're looking for, but below the ocean is all these things going, oh, does that pattern fit me? Oh, does your pattern fit mine? Great, let's get together. Yeah. So it's not something we do consciously. Whether it's some unconscious radar or something more subtle or something more divine, even like divinity making things happen, we attract people that are fitting to the patterns we haven't resolved yet, so that we get to work on them, or we get to run away from them, because that happens too. So what your client is doing is finally saying, enough, I get it now. There's something I need to do about this. And that's huge. When a client does that, I'm so happy when clients do it for me, because I don't want to be flogging, flogging a dead horse. It's like, keep pounding my head against the wall trying to get different results. No, when they choose in to say, you know what, I'm done with this pattern, I want to heal it and resolve it once and for all, show me how. It's like, hallelujah.
Isn't it? Oh, I mean, both of us were, I said, we're just going to sit here and we're going to take in this moment and we're going to really just relish in it because this is huge. And
Yeah.
it's funny how when it happens, it feels, when you think of all the other work and the energy and the effort and the thought and the writing feels huge. And this was like, oh, and it's almost like, oh, is that what it is? Even though I want to sit and go, this was so big. You and I know that it's this culmination. You know, it's when they've done the perfect high dive at the Olympics, how much work they've gotten to do that. I mean, the hours of practice and the sacrifices they've made, that you go, yeah, we're going to sit here and I'm going to give you all the tens. I mean, I really need you to own this, that this is not this is all of that. And that's the part where that you and I keep wanting to encourage with these podcasts, that when you get to the I've had it, I've had enough, or I'm not getting enough, or I want more, or this just isn't working, that's the beginning, because you've done a lot of work to get to that point. You know, all the rose-colored glasses that you ignored, the red flags, all the crappy dates that you've had, all the heartbreaks, all the frustration. They're the journey to get to the place of, oh, is there another way? Is there another option? Is there something else I could do? Because on the other two times you were like, well, I really like those women and I thought they really liked me and I thought this is going to work out. And it's like, crap. But then the third one, you're like, oh, you know, the new light bulb goes off.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that oftentimes the epiphany or the subtlety of the actual result definitely doesn't necessarily feel like a big dramatic thing. That's the thing, is most people, it's not the dramatic stuff so much, because the drama is the easy stuff. That's the light stuff. That's the frilly stuff, so to speak. But it's the deeper stuff where it's like, oh, I just felt that shift. It's like, oh, now I get it. And the thing is, and I was actually, I was on a Zoom call this morning about in the program. I'm in a coaching program right now, and we were talking about this. And I said the thing is that it's challenging sometimes, because when we've done this work, like you and I have done this work, we can start seeing the patterns in their clients so easily they don't have a clue about. And the challenge is for me is to not try and show them up front, because it'll scare them out of their socket, jumping out, like running away in fear. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So it's a dance. I feel like it's a dance sometimes to invite the clients to come in to do the work without scaring so much, because I'm going to tell them what's going to happen up front. I've got to wait a bit in and say, okay, now you're safe. We've done some work. Let me show you the next piece and the next piece and the next piece.
Yeah.
So they're ready for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's so essential. Boy, is that a skill for us all to keep practicing as coaches, because we really have experienced it ourselves enough and seen it with clients that we want to just go, well, let's just skip 3 through 7 and just get to 8. And you can't. Right. We had to go through all those steps, and some steps take longer and some are shorter, but it's very imperative. And there's times that what I do is I say, even this next step might feel scary and big and hard, you know, even a little bit of acknowledging. I go, you give me the belief. I'll believe it's going to happen. You don't even have to believe. If that's too big and scary and hard, you just hand it to me. I will hold it. It'll be right here in your little folder. Your belief is going to be with me. Yeah. And then it's like it takes a little pressure off of them. And then they're like, they finally will get to, you know, however long it is. And they go, oh, I believe. I feel like we're at a little, sometimes it's so funny. I feel like we're at, like 2 days ago, it was like we were at this revival. She's like, oh my gosh. It's so fun. And what I want to show people is the getting to I've had it is little creepy. You know, you creep little bit, little steps at a time. It's the same way when you get to the, oh, you've taken lots of steps. You just didn't always realize it, because I want people to stop and turn around and look back and keep looking at what you're going to do next. But if you look back, what progress have you made? So if you've been in bad relationships, what did you learn? There must be some, even if it's what you don't want, make a list of that. I don't want that kind of person. I don't want that kind of outcome. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to do the same thing again. You have no idea how to do it differently. That's why we're here. But at least go, oh, I did learn stuff. Because you think because you're repeating, you're not learning. But if you write it down or ask yourself this question, you're like, oh, I guess I did learn stuff. I haven't learned how to not do it, but I've learned I really don't want that anymore. I mean, I think that's a big step for people to do. What do you think?
Absolutely. Well, the first step is always awareness. That's the thing, is that a lot of people want to come and say, fix my problems. Like, well, let's get clear about what it is you're all fixing, what the problem is first. Because they come in and they go, they want to fix everything. They don't know what the problem is.
Yeah.
And of course, there are other people who've got a well visualized problem that don't know what to do with the problem to fix it. But the first step, though, is always awareness, because it's easier to change something once you can see what it is and experience it and know what it is. And so for me, totally. And oftentimes it is the fact is that you, instead of being a place where you're totally oblivious, there's a quadrant diagram about, you don't know what you don't know. And then suddenly you go, oh, I now know what I don't know. How do I fix that? Because then you get to the next step, which is basically start knowing what you do know. And then when you get so good at it, you don't even care. You don't even know what you don't know what you know, because you're doing it by default. And the thing about this work is, as people go through the process of that journey of getting from the place of being totally oblivious and not knowing at all about what it is they're not doing right, to a place where they're doing it automatically without thinking about it. That's a huge shift. People, when they get to that point, it's like suddenly being a professional skater. You don't worry about falling down. You just like glide across because you now do it properly. And so I love when my clients move from that place of obliviousness or not knowing to a place where they know so well they don't have to think about it. Yeah, that's the gift.
Yes, and guess what? You'll still have other things that'll come up.
Well, just add that piece, because for myself, said it, because I said very clearly 3 times in a row the same thing happened. I've not dated, but I have met women who remind me of that pattern a few times since then, on occasion. Every time I meet them, I go, not this time.
Because they're still out there, for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's not that they disappear from the world. And what's cool is now they remind you of, oh, yeah, I'm not choosing that this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to move on to a different buffet. I'm not interested in this buffet this time.
Absolutely.
So the other half of this is, staying in a bad relationship to have nothing. Well, who wants nothing?
Right.
I think even the most introverted person doesn't want nothing. They want to still have a friend or two, maybe not hordes of people. They want to have a life that feels productive. They want to be doing something, whether it's work or volunteering, that feeds them and makes them feel valuable and important. So if you have nothing, if you think you have no fingers touching on anything else, you're going to be glomming on to this relationship. There's no way you're going to leave if the other side of the coin is nothing. So in order to have I know you're jumping, I was going to finish my thought and then you just jump right in.
Okay.
In order to be attracted to and attractive to full living people who are having all their fingers touched on interesting things, you have to have things in your life that are also fulfilling you, and not just this relationship that if it leaves, you have nothing. Please jump in, Barry, before you explode.
Oh, yeah. Well, a couple of things. First of all, that there's definitely the way it's framed, which is, of course, is the whole point about this topic. Thing this way is that being in a bad relationship, the question, of course, is how bad is it, and what do you think is bad? But also, we say you have nothing. That's kind of a misleading word, because the truth is not you have nothing, but you just don't have that relationship. If the relationship is that bad, being away from it, being free, it may be the best gift you can give yourself, to be free and totally not tied into that. But what I was laughing about, though, was the idea about, well, is it better to stay with somebody and have bad sex than have no sex at all?
Oh, and I usually bring it up. So good for you.
It's like, you're just, because the thing is, I'm going, that's a different question.
It's a very different question. Very different. And if that's what you want is a friends with benefit, you hope it's going to at least be good sex.
Exactly.
Then what's the point if it's not?
No, but that's the thing in terms about the relationship, getting back to the topic rather than changing the topic entirely, is the thing is that, in a bad relationship, the implication is there's suffering involved. And if there is suffering, then being free and not being in a relationship at all may be a better choice. So as I said at the beginning, doing the work to discover what's going on and realizing what was the bad piece was something you just hadn't worked out with each other. And once you do work it out, it gets a whole lot better. Great. But with a bad relationship, whether it's toxicity or abuse or pain or something else, walking away and being free may be the biggest gift you can give yourself, to say, you know what, I'd rather have nothing like that than stay in that relationship.
Yes.
So that's a massive shift.
And I love nothing like that, because the other thing that you made me now think of when you were talking is, if you were raised in an abusive relationship, if you were raised with, people who left you all the time or screamed at you all the time, and so now because often we go to what feels familiar and that we are used to. It's what I certainly did in my dating, not abusive, but men that didn't have money. That when you leave it, if you aren't doing some work at the same time, it's going to feel like a void. It's going to feel like nothing, which could also feel super scary and really empty. So when I left my first marriage, I had really changed myself. I was so different, and I pushed my personality down, and I was just a mess. And so after I left, 6 months later, my sister and a bunch of friends of us had gone to a play, and we were going back to the car, and I was dancing through the parking lot singing one of the songs, and my sister went, "Oh my God, you're back." So I actually filled back up again, but I wanted to address that you could now feel like this huge void that could feel scary and hard, might send you. That was another reason why people, I think, get back into bad relationships, because they want to fill that back up again, and they don't have something else to fill it up with. So that might be a really fun topic to continue when we come back from our break, because I can tell you things to talk about that.
Exactly my thoughts too. Yes, let's go for the break and we'll come back.
Okay, perfect. Word from our sponsors.
Indeed.
And we're back with Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry, and we're talking about, is it better to stay in a bad relationship or to have nothing? And we were just addressing about the nothing part.
Yes.
So your thoughts, Barry, on that part of the question today?
Well, something you said that was key is the sense that it is the fear of the unknown. And that's the biggest challenge, is that when you're in a relationship that you've been in for 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years, to suddenly be out on the street, so to speak, to be out of that relationship and no longer have that experience of the comfort, even though it's bad or uncomfortable. There was a comfort in the discomfort, which is weird as it sounds, because it was familiar. It was familiar, and that's the peace. So to suddenly be in the nothing space, where it's like no relationship, it can feel extremely scary. And so people are oftentimes averse to going there even. So what I want to speak to really is what's on the other side of that. Like we said earlier, it's like you said the same thing. It's like, what's on the other side of that when you do get free of that, when you do get out of that space? So same as when you find yourself in a bad relationship and you discover when you start looking at what really is going on, you can resolve it and move through it and have a good relationship. When you leave a relationship that is not going to change, that is bad, and you go into the nothingness of not knowing, that's a chance of being in a place of discovery. When you start, first of all, discovering how cool you really are, how nice you really are, how wonderful you really are, first of all, because one of the biggest lessons, oftentimes bad relationships you're in have maybe been knocking on your self-image and denigrating to who your self-esteem. So one of the gifts of being on your own is there's nobody outside of you telling you bad things about you because they weren't true in the first place. Yep. So that's one part of it, is start discovering that you might actually have some peace in the silence, so to speak. But on top of that, there's a definite opportunity to start really getting to know who you really are, what you really are about, and to start raising your standards. You know, again, mirror work is such a thing. I mean, even though don't do anything weird with the mirror work, it's more about when you start looking at yourself as you would look at anybody else, through a lens of clarity and of care and of compassion, and start recognizing what fills you up, what fuels you, what inspires you, what awakens you, and then do those things for yourself, independent of somebody else. Don't wait for somebody to show up and do it for you. But if you go and take care of yourself and do things for yourself that fill you up energetically, emotionally, all those different things, you might first of all discover that you kind of like who you are and you enjoy the relationship with yourself. But secondly, you'll be in a much more fulfilled place and a whole place. So when you start looking at dating again, you'll be in a different perspective where you'll start searching from a whole and fulfilled place, not from a needy, empty place. So that time you spend in the nothingness of being on your own could be the biggest transformation you can have. So, and like you and I do, we work with clients a lot of times, they're single. This is one of the gifts we help them to discover for themselves, is just how truly amazing they really are and how it's worth the time to spend with yourself to become aware of just how amazing you really are. Yeah. So you no longer settle for less than you deserve.
Eloquent.
Thank you.
Put so eloquently. Yeah, because I jumped to my 6-month part, but boy, those first few months, I was like, wow, who am I, and what am I about, and am I worthwhile, and how do I sort through all that negative information that I'd had for so many years? And that was very challenging. I sought out therapy and wept to my friends, and so that was what was so interesting. It just, it was that thing where I was doing all these processes and appreciate them. But then that night I was like, oh, wow, I really have now owned myself even more. Because now I was 14 years older, more mature, had also done other things. I mean, I'd been an executive at a company and had some cool promotions and some really interesting opportunities that I wasn't even completely owning to myself either, because I'd had this hard relationship at home. So you really talked about that well, that how you get to that place, you're not always appreciating, oh yeah, look what I did and look what I'm doing now to get there. They almost feel independent of each other, even though they couldn't be more connected. So I think that doing that for myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to keep reminding my clients, this is what we're doing and this is why you're doing it.
Right.
Because we forget on our own. I have friends that remind me about the growth that I'm doing. Well, look at the growth you're doing. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot that part. So it's really helpful to have a coach in your life that can help you work on the process and feel like, oh, this time and energy I'm spending and money is really worthwhile because look at the steps I'm making.
And on top of that, also, we are wonderful reflectors. So oftentimes we will actually reflect back to you what you may have forgotten about yourself, or reflect back to you what you may not have even recognized that you really are about. I mean, our job is to hold the high watch in a way. We see you where you really are, and even see yourself down here because of your past relationship, that bad relationship.
Yeah.
And basically what we're doing is saying, no, this is who you are. And you're like, I am. Oh, I can be that good. Oh, I can. So a lot of what we do is not just simply see you as you think you are, but see you as you really are, and hold that space.
I think we help reveal the truth. Because I think so often, certainly in my marriage, I believed a lot of false things about me. I really did. I could have, put my hand on a Bible and sworn to the truth of these things that were not true about me. And so that was what was helpful, is to have somebody going, no, I really see this part of you. You're going to get there. You're going to get there in the belief. I love how you did that, because when somebody holds that belief, it gives you permission to believe a little more and get there more.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing about when I finally left my marriage, because we'd worked hard. We went to marriage counseling and we really tried hard. It was never going to work for the two of us. So when you go, oh, it's not bad people. It really is a bad relationship for these two people who are worse off together.
Yes.
When we were going through our divorce, we went back to being friends. It was kind of an astounding thing. It was really amazing. We weren't working at being married anymore. We were just working at dividing our things, and people would come, like the real estate agent and the accountant and all the people that came over, they're like, there's no pots and pans being thrown. I go, no, because we liked each other before we got married. It just wasn't very good being married. And then we liked each other as we went through with this effortless divorce.
That's a gift.
Oh, I am so grateful, because I certainly hear lots of my parents. So it's nice to know that it can be that way. And I think it's because we both just gave up the illusion that there was something wrong with us, that we couldn't make this thing that was wrong work.
Yeah.
My dad used to say, because I really like manuals and putting things together. Everybody always has me come put things together at their house. He says, if it doesn't go together smoothly, stop. Because generally, maybe not so much nowadays, but then things were made to go together smoothly. And if they weren't, it's because you needed to adjust.
Yeah.
And so if it wasn't working, I kept trying to adjust. Well, you can't always do that in a relationship. No. Our pieces came from different manufacturers. They were never going to fit together. And it was such a realization to go, oh, we're not screwed up people. We just are trying to screw this relationship together, that it's a round peg in a square hole. I mean, it really was. He's so much better with who he is now. So not like me. She's so different from me. I'm like, yeah, that's what, but we were too young and we didn't know that. So it's amazing how people date often from this really young place, where I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to change the other person, or I'm going to change me. And it's not that you don't make adjustments. I mean, that's essential, but your core person, I lost my core person. And you can't lose your core person if it's going to be a good relationship. You can't.
It's true.
It's one of the biggest clues it's not a good relationship if you're having to change your core.
I say maybe one of the biggest clues, frankly. I mean, it's such a thing about relationships should ideally be two whole people coming together and finding out more about each other. But if one's being suppressed and ignored and reduced by the other person, that's not a relationship anymore. It's control. It's not healthy at all. I mean, I just want to reflect back that framing that you put about how the divorce was done so peacefully and such a friendly way of doing it. And it's the thing is, that's what you realize sometimes, that you're better off as friends than you are as lovers. That realization during the process was such a gift that many people don't get. So more props to you both for that learning along the way. But that thing is that we do oftentimes choose partners. I mean, some of you just like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. But the thing about choosing partners from a very young age, it is those young belief systems that are running, those young programs that we're running of how to attract partners. You know, like saying with the client you have about connecting the dots from the fact that their father died when they were young, to choosing men that would leave her because her father left her. The wiring is like so clear in hindsight.
Yep.
But oftentimes we choose relationships blindly because we're choosing from that younger space without even realizing we're doing it. So this understanding about choosing out of bad relationships, again, the bad is relative, and it's also more perspective. Because the thing is, that bad relationship may just be bad for you to be in it, it may be bad for both of you, or it might be bad for them to be in it, or maybe just bad because you don't see it through a clear lens. So understanding that in being a relationship or not being a relationship perhaps should come down to the choice of what's working for you versus staying in a relationship that's not working. So this question has so many spokes, which I love, about better stay in a bad relationship or have nothing. Underneath that is also, is it better stay in a relationship that's not working or be free on your own, which is not saying the same thing. And that's the thing, is that we are, as human beings, free to choose what we want. So when we put up with things that aren't working for us, either staying single forever because we don't want anything, or being in a bad relationship, there's other options besides that. There's happily single. There's all sorts of things we can do if we're willing to choose it.
And so there we are, back to making conscious choices, not sleeping through your life. My mom used to say, I don't understand how these people can be so unconscious going through their lives. And I've learned with all the people that I talk to, it's just so painful sometimes to examine your life and look at your life. And it's kind of lonely to try to do it by yourself. That's why it's nice to have friends to talk to and professionals to talk to, because there's always, no matter what, I have learned, a gift inside of whatever the hard thing was. I mean, Frankl, right? Man's Search for Meaning.
Viktor Frankl, yeah.
From a Holocaust camp, found the people that had meaning that helped them survive, not just physically, but emotionally, not completely lose themselves in this most horrible situation. That consciously making that decision, and you could only do it consciously. I mean, I am clear that I tell people I was born with the happy gene. I came out of my mom a happy person. It's just who I am. I still choose every day. I know I still choose every day, even though it's who I am, because shit happens. Shit happens when I'm out in the world. When I still get to choose, how am I going to handle this situation, the rest of the day, my life? How am I going to stay in generally happy? Not all the time. That would be major drugs I would never take, because I don't like that feeling. But even me, who has an ingrained sense of happy, I still choose every day. I consciously think, how am I going to have my day be pleasant? How am I going to be pleasant to other people in my day? So I know it's an effort. I know it is, but I cannot live any other way. And I keep encouraging people, yeah, you might not like what you see. Yeah, it might be really uncomfortable, but then you can do something about it. You know, if you keep wearing this pair of shoes that's uncomfortable and you don't go, well, they're uncomfortable, maybe I should get different shoes. Be conscious of, they're hurting your feet. Please be conscious of that. And so that's what all we keep talking about, is make conscious decisions. If it's bad, let's look at why. Why is it bad? Why are you using that word? Is there things you can do about it? Is there nothing you can do about it? Is there, what can you do about you? What can you do about the person, the situation? Is it time to leave? How can you leave in the best way possible? And how can it feel, not relationship, still feel positive? Consciously. It's a lot of work.
Oh.
But you and I can't live any other way.
Well, the thing is, you're saying it's a lot of work. People go, I don't do work. I don't bother with that stuff. It's like, no, this is the point. The work is where all the joy is. It's where the fun is. It's where the love is.
It's where the juice is.
Well, yeah. So when you do the work, so to speak, it isn't like, you know, doing a 9-to-5 job where you're just working away. No, it's the work that is it's like after you've worked hard to bake a pie, or after you worked hard to get physically fit, or you worked hard to learn a skill, the rewards are abundant, and the feeling of pride you have, like, I did this, I've transformed this, I've experienced this, is such a reward greater than the cost of what you did to start with. So this work we talk about, yes, it sounds like doing the work, but it's not doing the work. It's like work. It's like having this transformation, this journey, this excitement, this exploration. It's so worth it. And yeah, I mean, I've been on the path a long time. I had a late breakfast with a couple of friends who come in town, and they were saying, I said, what are you doing in town? Because they're in the Bay Area. I said, well, I'm going to this seminar. I said, what seminar are you going to? And he said, what seminar it was. Like, I did that seminar back in 1984. And I started reflecting back to them the value and the journey. And I said, I can't tell him about the seminar. He's going to experience it for himself.
Oh, yeah.
But the lesson I took out from that, which is almost 40 years ago now,
Isn't that amazing?
use in my life because they work. Yeah, absolutely. And that work continues to teach me, continues to support me, continues to inspire me. So this is why I do what I do. And that's why you do what you do, because in the work we do, in the way we serve our clients, the freedom, the joy, the love, the experience, the excitement, the wonder is abundant. So of course we do this work for pleasure and joy and pay.
Oh, yes. And the other word that I'm going to add to all of that is you have such a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Really accomplishment, satisfaction. I mean, that is worth a lot. That is so worth a lot. It is very valuable. I think it might be undervalued in people's minds until they experience it and they're like, oh, I think I'll like this and I think I'd like more, please.
Very true. Yeah, that is
how
the thing.
Fun that you get to look back at 40 years, and that was a building block. That look at this, monumental Taj Mahal that you have built on top of it, that you keep getting to add to,
and keep getting to share and inspire and awaken other people with too. That's the thing about it. I love it so much, and it is something where, had you talked to me at that age and said this was going to happen, I would have like, no, I'm never going to believe you. Not going to work. It's not even worth it. But I look back and that's true. The same with my clients. Our clients, when they first come to see us, may have no clue what the end result looks like. Yeah. But if they hitch their wagon to our vision, so to speak, wagons came from the opportunities, but the results and the accomplishment is a great word. So they have the success, they have the feelings of all those things we talked about are so worth the effort. So you get to choose for yourself: stay in a bad relationship, have nothing, or transform your life.
I would choose that. Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
So if you would like to transform your life.
Nicely done. Nice segue.
Thank you. And what's fascinating is I'm going to say it out loud for both of us. Yes, we do concentrate on your personal relationship with yourself. Oh my God, the benefits that you have out in the world once you've transformed the relationship with yourself. I mean, we glow when we talk about this. It's unavoidable. You can't transform yourself and not improve your relationships out in the world. It's absolutely guaranteed. Guaranteed. So if you'd like to have some or a lot of that, Barry and I would be so happy to help you.
Yep.
So the way to get a hold of me is initially through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Click on what's holding you back from love, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me, and we'll talk about, where are you not feeling fulfilled? Well, where would you like to feel more fulfilled? We can work on that. You can also send me a personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com, and you can see all of my personal podcast videos and all my over 100 with Barry on my social media sites on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and Twitter and YouTube. I'm getting better, huh?
Getting better. Whole list.
Barry, tell them how they can reach you for their transformation.
Well, it's easy to do. You can find me at my website, which is my name, barryselby.com. In fact, on my site, and I'm relabeling this thing. You can sign up for, I won't call it a discovery session, but I'll call it a mini session, because it is a fee-based conversation, but it'll be a chance to do some work together and to get the chance to test drive my skills, but also to see where you are and what you want to get. So on my website homepage at the top says, take the next step. That's where you can sign up for that. At the bottom of the homepage of my website is the link to join my email list if you just want to join my email list that way. On my website, which again, barryselby.com, are I have my online courses, I have my book, some of the videos I have here. I also have my coaching opportunity. If you want to do deep dive, we can talk about that too. And on social media, definitely all our videos that we've done together. I've got another 1,100 videos on top of the 100 we've done together on my YouTube channel, which is Barry Selby as well. So youtube.com/Barry Selby. And all my social media, apart from Instagram, is Barry Selby. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok. I'm not even using right now, so you don't bother following me there. Or on YouTube as well. And if you go to Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby, because I had to change my name, but you find me all over the place. And yes, both of us love helping our clients have that sense of accomplishment and that joy of looking back and going, wow, it was so worth the journey. That's the most important part of our work. So either one of us can help you.
We'd be happy to help you.
Yes.
And please join us every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern for our live podcast. You can please share it with your friends. You can watch it on replay, and also send us questions if you have comments about our shows, or you have an interest in hearing something we haven't talked about yet. If you've looked at our archives and said, "Oh, you have never talked about this," we're always looking for new subjects for sure.
True. Yes.
Yeah. So we like interaction. We love talking to people all day long. So interact with us, please.
So reach out to us. Yes. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye
Take care
for
of
now.
yourselves. Bye.